There will be time for questions. The last 10 minutes of the presentation, I will open it up to questions. So please feel free to ask me anything that comes into your mindset, and hope you get to enjoy this. So what is mindful eating? If you've heard anything in the media whatsoever, mindfulness is a particular way of paying attention. There's been a lot in the news about the rise of stress and the level of mental health services that engage with mindfulness. So when we are mindful, we pay attention in a particular way without judgment, on purpose. And the most important aspect of mindfulness is to be in the present moment. So let's think about what's happened over the past year. We've been in a situation that was totally unforeseen. Life has taken a change in many different ways. Working at home for parents, kids being at home, learning their school lessons, and juggling all of that has really put our country in a state of flux. So when we talk about being mindful and being present, knowing what is happening right here, right now, think about it in your own lives and how difficult has it been to actually be present, to be in the moment, and to be able to stay on task with what you've started to do, whether it be your job or something around the house, something that requires your attention, but there's just so many other things that are coming about that you've got rolling around in your mind. When we pay attention to eating, most people are just eating and going through the motions without really enjoying or paying strict attention to what's happening when they engage in eating. So think about your day today, whether it was in the morning when you woke up, having your coffee, sitting down to have lunch, or even this evening for dinner. Can you reflect back to what you had and what the tastes were? Were you present in really enjoying what was before you? Or were you so filled with thought that you really don't remember what that experience was like? That is typically the way that we have been working with just about everything. We're multitasking. We are so in need of being able to get done whatever the activity may be and move on to the next thing. And we really haven't been able to take the time to really enjoy a meal in the fashion that maybe we were able to pre-pandemic. So when we are eating mindfully, it's a really wonderful way to engage in the experience of your meals. There's so many different scents, colors, textures, and aromas that when we are mindless, we miss all of it. So think about a wonderful Italian meal with all of the different tomato scent and the aroma, the sauce. When we are mindful, we can really put that together and have a very engaging experience. It's something that we can relish and we remember. But when we're lost in thought, we really don't experience anything that is engaging the senses. When we are doing mindful eating, we are taking the full experience in. So just think about your day today. Were you mindful and were you able to really enjoy what was before you for your meals today? When we're able to be present and pay attention to the foods we eat, and when we do our shopping, we can really hone in on making healthier choices. So when you're rushed, when you need to get to the market and you're in there just to grab whatever you need for the day, how much time are you really paying attention to what could be a healthy choice for you? Is there something that you've just been knowing that you've been doing over and over again? Maybe choosing the same type of foods, having the same eating patterns. And is this really the best choice for you? When we are totally present, we can really look at the experience of our food choices in a different way, putting more perspective into what is better for us, what is a healthier way to eat for ourselves as well as our families. Again, with the pandemic, we have all been experiencing tremendous stress. We are so filled with thought, we're involved in technology that we've had to learn, maybe for the first time, if you're doing a lot of online classes. And it has really taken us away from the normal flow of life. There's still a lot of concern and worries out there with the situation at hand. And all of this is really robbing us of the joy that we have, even as far as enjoying a simple meal. So when you're sitting down with your meal, what is happening in your mind? Are you thinking about something you have to do right after that meal? Or maybe you're reflecting on something you didn't get done earlier in the day. Do you remember what any of that tasted like tonight? Think back to the last meal that you had today, maybe even dinner. What were you experiencing? What did you notice? Could it possibly be that the stress that you're holding within yourself is so over the top that you're really losing the experience of the joy of eating? So, this is a good time for us to reflect and just take a pause and check in with our own stress levels. We've all been handling more than our share, and it's really taking a toll on all of us. So, when the body experiences stress over a long period of time, we have a rise in cortisol. That's our stress hormone. When that happens, it affects us in many different ways. The increase of anxiety occurs. We may also be feeling sad or depressed. And at the same time, the rise of cortisol has us in a different state of flux with our eating behaviors. Some people will turn to eating to just fill that comfort spot that we need. Stress and anxiety can be comforted with food. However, in many cases, it's the choices that we're making while we're reaching for food that might not be the best for us. In this time of stress as well, people are finding their eating behaviors are going the other way. They have so much on their mind and so much on their plate to juggle that they're choosing not to eat, which is causing another set of issues within our digestive systems. So just take a moment at this time and just notice, is stress a factor in the way that you've been eating, the way it's changed your behaviors? Is it something that has happened just over the past year, or is it something that you've noticed before that? This is a time when we can learn to be mindful and really pay attention to what is best for us. Also, thinking about what thoughts fill your mind day in and day out. If we're not in control of our thoughts, the thoughts seem to take over our lives. We need to know that we are always able to take a step back, look at the thoughts that come in our minds, and just say, is this something that I need to be holding right now? Is it something that I can let go? Is it critical to my daily being? So when we're mindful, we are in touch with our thoughts, how they make us feel, and how they affect us in our bodies. So again, comfort food is to you what it might be to someone else. So at this time, think about what are the foods that you're reaching for to give you comfort, to ease tension. Is it something that we know that we've just let happen without having any type of restraint? And how do we feel after we're eating these types of foods? Are there particular cravings that come about that you really haven't had before this time of stress? And again, how is it affecting your health overall? So, this is a great lesson to begin paying attention. We can always start new. Every day is a new opportunity to start over. The most important thing is when you notice that you're doing something that you know that you're not happy with. We want to just be aware of it and know that this is something that we can change. So, once again, looking at the way the thoughts enter our mind, this is a time when we can just check in and reflect on what kind of day did we really have and what behaviors were the result of this type of day. When we label how we're feeling, it's a way for us to be in greater awareness of what's happening within ourselves. So if you've had a bad day, if things didn't go right, you are angry. You want to be in touch with that emotion and just say to yourself, well, I'm angry, or you're filled with despair for one reason, that's something that didn't go right, that you're worried about, that has just carried in from one day to the next. Notice it. How long have you been feeling that? And also, when these behaviors come about, are you reaching for food? Is it a time you're eating, but however, you've had a meal just a short time ago? Are you really hungry? Or is it your go-to strategy to relieve that stress? So we have two different aspects of the way that we feel hunger. We have our physical and emotional hunger. We get the messages from our brain. So if you're familiar with the stress response, we have what's called the fight or flight response. It's an instinct that we have when we feel stress or danger. It is something that we go to just escape, to get away, and to find ourselves in a safer being. We really need to pay attention to why we're eating. What are the reasons behind it? And what are the behaviors that you've been exhibiting that you would like to change? So we can pay attention, slowing down, really taking the time to think about what we're eating, and is it something that you need to eat at this time? Is there real hunger there? So here you'll be able to read the differences between emotional and physical hunger. So take a moment and take a look at the differences. This is a good time for you to be in check with yourself and maybe reflect back once again on what has your experience been. Have you been filled with different emotions that have changed your pattern of eating? Have you noticed that the sensations are coming on really strong when you're in a different emotional state? When do you feel satisfied after eating? Are you able to walk away from your meal after having your typical portion, or are you feeling that maybe there's something else going on with your thoughts that are just driving you to look for that comfort zone? Typically, when we're eating emotionally, after we're done, we have a sense of feeling badly about ourselves or feeling some guilt. It's easy to determine what that eating feels like. Uh, Really important for us to kind of hone in on that. And we typically aren't able to eat with satisfaction. We're overeating. And when we're eating with physical hunger, we feel satisfied. There's a level of when we're able to walk away from the table, we've had enough nutrition and we feel good about what we've done. So, this is really important for us at this time to maybe check in and think about what has the eating pattern been like over the past year? Have you noticed something changing within yourself? And what would you think would be a better way to conduct your overall eating pattern? So there's a lot of different things that can crop up to have us eat in a non-healthy manner. On this slide, you'll notice that there are a number of things that are triggers, things that fall behind in the background that have us eat in the way that we do. And a lot of these things could be something that you've experienced over the past. So sometimes as we're growing up, we were rewarded with food, right? If we did something well, we'll go and get an ice cream or we'll have a piece of cake. And it's the way that our families would reward us for doing good things. Other times, there's a lot of pressure to eat, and if you're in a social event and you have your peers around you, you may feel the pressure to eat something that you really don't typically have. If we're experiencing any type of boredom, if we've been home so much and being indoors has really been a situation that really hasn't been the greatest for us. And we find ourselves being home and maybe going to the refrigerator more often or opening up a cabinet and grabbing some cookies. And just because we're looking for something to do. And we can have the most elaborate meal just a short time ago. But if we are sitting around and we're thinking, and we feel that there's nothing we really can do at this time, it's very typical to reach for food. So, this is another time where you can check in with yourself and say, what has my pattern been? What is happening when I'm reaching for these different things in what I'm eating? What's been happening within my own being, within my own mindset? So we can all kind of check in with ourselves and reflect on that kind of behavior. So, how do we begin to eat mindfully? We need to slow ourselves down, really relish in the moment of what's happening during the time of preparing a meal, to slow down and just give yourself some self care. We're running through our days like we're on a treadmill. There's just so much we have to continue to do into the late hours of the night. This has been one of the culprits on eating patterns changing. We have to know when to give ourselves permission to take that break. And a good time to really start the change is in your evening meal or your breakfast. Anytime that you're sitting down and having nutrition, this is self-care. It's really important for you to be able to make those choices that will benefit you. And we have to take control of that and notice when things are too much. If we're worrying constantly about what is going to happen next. We'll never be able to keep ourselves in the present moment. So, when you feel that you're in a state of flux, the best way for you to be able to slow yourself down is to take a deep breath. If you've ever heard the cliche, when you're upset, take 3 breaths, 3 deep breaths, there's truth to that. When you take your breath in through the nose and out through the nose in a slow fashion, you're able to activate your parasympathetic nervous system, which is our calm center. So if you want to just try that while we're on this slide, just take a moment to breathe in through your nose and out through your nose. Try that again. In through the nose and out through the nose. Notice how it felt to just take in that simple exercise. So when you're feeling harried and just really need to slow yourself down and get your wits about you, taking the breath is always there for you, and it definitely works. So I hope that you'll be able to incorporate that into your days as you go forward with your change. Again, it's about being in the present moment, knowing what's happening right here, right now, and paying attention. So, there are a lot of foods that can enable us to boost our moods. Again, this is all about making healthy choices. You know that you've made a healthy choice when you feel satisfied. So, if you're having a nice meal with your protein and your vegetables, similar to what you see in the picture, this is just one of many. You're going to feel different within your body. You're going to feel full. You're not going to have those immediate cravings for something that's unhealthy. You'll feel happier and you won't have that critical self talking to you about saying, why did I eat that? I know that wasn't the right thing to do. It's all about keeping the mind state in a positive way and just really paying attention to the choices. So, this is another time for you to just reflect on what are the patterns that you've been holding. When you've been stressed or upset, are you reaching for something that is unhealthy? Is it something that you'll do when you walk in the door? Just noticing how busy you've been, and there's so much in your on your plate within your mind that you're really not comprehending what it is that you're going to be eating next. You just go on automaton and just grab for something because it's convenient. These are the things that we can change and become more mindful eaters. So when we enable ourselves to really engage in our meal, there's a lot that goes into it. So think about what you did today, even with the evening meal, with your dinner. Were you able to really take in all of the different textures or scents, what the spices were that you added to your meal? What were the real unique flavors that you got out of that meal? Did you enjoy it? Or were you preparing your meal mindlessly and really don't even remember what it took to put that meal together? When we are lost in thought and just allowing the thoughts to continue to overtake our mind, we really don't pay attention to anything. We just go through the motions. We want to get it done. It's looked at as another chore, and we get it on the table and just pretty much go through the meal as we have throughout the day. So think about that. How have you been preparing your own meals. Everyone has a different schedule, but are you really missing quite a bit by not slowing down and taking in everything you can to have pleasure of putting that meal together? There's a lot that we miss by not paying attention. So take a moment now to reflect on what has your pattern been in your meal preparation. Is it something that you can change? Are you able to slow down and really engage with all of your senses? I sent over a food diary that I know that the library will be distributing to you. If you've ever done any kind of food charting, or if you have not, this is a really great thing to start doing. It holds you accountable for what you're eating each day, and it allows you to review and reflect on some of the choices that you've made. And in that note section of that chart, you're able to put down what was happening that day. Were you having a bad day? What was it that upset you? And as you take into account what has been happening, you can then better look at the behaviors. What are the days that you really didn't have the best day? And what were the eating patterns that happened? There's typically a correlation between the two. And this is a very instrumental piece that a lot of my clients have found to really help them change their behaviors. So, starting tomorrow, it's a great thing to start doing. And look back after a couple of weeks, after you've completed one full week, look at your pattern. Look at the notes that apply to those particular days. And then the following week, think about how you can possibly make changes. We all have a way to change what we're doing for the better, for a healthier outcome. At the same time, when you're doing your grocery shopping, put down in writing prior to going to the store some healthy choices. It will enable you to be able to select something different than what you've typically been eating. It allows you better choices, and it gives you more opportunity to have a healthier lifestyle right from the get-go in how you're preparing any of the foods that you eat. What you also want to do is write down and journal some of the foods that you are buying now. If there's something that is unhealthy, if you're buying chips or cookies or ice cream, make a column of all of these things that you're eating that you would like to eliminate. And in the second column, write down what you can replace it with. So there's so many different choices that we can make, but we need to be mindful of it and just pay attention while we're doing it. So this is a great start. If you have never done this before, it works most of the time because you're holding yourself accountable. So we're going to do, right now, I'm going to demonstrate how you can eat in a mindful way. So when we're eating, when we're sitting down, we want to take in and engage all of our senses. What does something look like? What is the texture? What is the taste? What are the colors that we see? Smell the aromas of the foods that you're preparing, that you have in front of you. If you're cutting a citrus orange, take your time in enjoying what that orange tastes like. Bring it up to your nose and smell it. Close your eyes, relish into the fragrance of citrus. Feel the texture of that orange. Notice what it feels like in your hand. When you slow yourself down in that way, It enables you to really pause in your eating. You typically will eat less and you'll enjoy what you're eating in a much deeper fashion. So, I am going to demonstrate what is called the raisin exercise. I have a box of raisins, and if you have raisins at home, or if you have anything that is small that you want to try this with after we get done here, it's going to really bring you to the forefront of how you've been eating. So I'm taking a few raisins in the palm of my hand, and I'm going to take one, and I'm examining this raisin as though this is the first time I've ever seen it. Hold it up to the light. What does it look like? What do I notice that I haven't noticed before in this tiny little raisin? I've never really observed what a raisin typically looks like because we're just typically eating them very quickly. But when you take the time to pause and be mindful, you see something that you haven't seen before. Maybe you notice the ridges, the little wrinkles within the outer shell. So, really take your time and do an examination of what you have before you. Taking the raisin, and I'm going to put it between my lips. Just noticing, letting the raisin fall into my mouth, using my tongue, experiencing it in a different way. Noticing what's happening in my mouth as I let this one raisin press against my tongue. There's a lot of sensations that happen in this simple exercise. Starting to chew it very, very slowly. Just noticing the experience, what's happening in my mouth. And then finally chewing and swallowing it. And just reflecting on that experience. Now I'm going to eat the raisins in the typical fashion that I'll usually eat these. So I'm just taking about 4 or 5 of them. Noticing that the experience is totally different. At the same time, my mind is lost in thought, not slowing down and not enabling me to pay attention is a whole different experience. So when you try this, you'll notice there's a significant difference when we slow down and really enjoy what we have. We're going to notice a number of different sensations, flavors, the enhancement of what we're eating brings a whole different enjoyable experience. So this is something that you can do at home with even an orange, if you cut sections of an orange or the raisins or a piece of apple, something that you enjoy. But really notice what it's like to take your time, slow yourself down, and notice the difference of eating that way versus the typical way that we're usually eating in haste, not really being able to enjoy the whole experience. So I'm hoping that from this time on that you can learn something about what you've typically been doing and change the behavior. It There's never a time when it's too late to change what we've been doing. But when we are mindful, we become more in touch with our emotions. Notice what happens when you're reaching for something. One adaptation that you can make in your own homes that has been helpful: when you're coming in the door or when you're finding yourself extremely hungry, anything that is typically in the sight of your counters or in your cabinet when you're opening it, put those things tucked in somewhere. And when you come in, maybe have a bowl of fruit on the counter. So when you're reaching for something, it's going to be something healthy. Have a glass of water. See if the water takes away some of the hunger. And reflect back to the last time that you've had your meal. What has happened? And what do you notice about yourself? Is it emotional eating or is it physical hunger? Reflecting back to what you last ate is a checklist of, do you really need to eat at this time? Or is there another reason behind it? These are all the things that we can do to become more mindful eaters. So I hope that you'll try this and check back and let me know how you're all doing. Feel free to email me at revivemindfulness@gmail.com and send me your results. Let me know what's getting in the way or what you might need some support in. I'm very happy to engage with you. So thank you, and I'll open this up to questions at this time.
Thank you, Sally.
Welcome.
Does anybody have any questions? You can either type them in the chat if you wish, or if you raise your hand, I can unmute you and you can ask it in real time. Can you do this test in lieu of a raisin? So can you do it with something else?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So I had mentioned that you can, it's interesting because I'm finding that a lot of people don't like raisins. And so, yes, absolutely. If there's a fruit, if there's another type of fruit or just something that is in small pieces that you can safely put into your mouth and chew slowly, absolutely.
Anything else from anybody? I don't know if you can see the things too, Sally, but Carla just said, I'm looking forward to trying the chart for replacing healthy with unhealthy. Yeah. Wait, yes, I think so. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Welcome. And I'm available if anyone has any questions that will come up. All they need to do is shoot me an email, and I'm happy to answer them.
Yeah, and I will probably tonight or tomorrow morning send you guys the chart that Sally was talking about. So
yeah. And so this exercise, it's just a great way at this time. It's a way for us to get in check with our emotions overall. And eating, when we are lost in thought, we are most of the time, we are not really paying attention to what we're really eating. We're just going through the exercise of eating.
Mhm.
So we can have this opportunity to live a healthier way.
Any more questions? Sometimes the food is gone before I realize I'm not eating mindfully.
That's right. Yes. So eating quickly, that's a knowing that you're aware of that, that's a good time for you to check in with yourself in what's happening in the mind at that time. What are you thinking about? And how does that affect what you're doing at that given moment?
Can you provide any insight regarding eating while watching a movie? That's true. That's a good point.
So when we're watching a movie, right, it's really easy to polish off a big bag of chips or something, right? So watching a movie, again, you want to try to have some healthy choices. If you're sitting for a couple of hours, why not try to substitute some, instead of eating a bag of chips or cookies or something, maybe what about some fresh fruit? What about grapes? um, Maybe chopping up, we've got some beautiful summer fruit coming right now, the melons, watermelon, cantaloupe, something that you can cut into little pieces that you can have and really enjoy, but in a healthier way. Yeah, movies, and that's been really, we've been spending a lot of time on our couches over the past year, just flipping through channels and just occupying our time. It's really easy for us to get lost with eating something that's unhealthy. And we look to the movie to give us some calming sense, right? We're looking to have entertainment to be something we can divert our attention from the worries or the thinking, and get lost in a movie. But at the same time, we need to be mindful about what are we eating in those 2 hours. So try to prepare something that's a little bit healthier, and and see if that works out for you. I know typically people want snack foods, especially if you've got kids. They're going to want the salty, right? The salty, the sweet, and in moderation, but try to substitute some healthy choices.
Um, is there a way to catch yourself? I think you might have touched on that a few minutes ago.
Yeah. So what you want to do is when you're going to be reaching for something, when I had that slide regarding take a deep breath and pause, we have we have a few moments to just take that step back and notice what we're doing, what our actions are. So if you're lost in thought, you know that if you haven't had the greatest of days, and you've had some type of upset, more than likely you might be reaching for something unhealthy. So before you reach, just be aware, take that breath, check in with yourself. Taking a deep breath can reset the action. And I encourage all of my clients to start doing this deep breathing, this breath meditation. When you're able to take the breath, it's going to allow that calm center to kick in. And it's a way for you to reset your action. So try just taking that breath and just pause and give yourself that moment to say, wait a minute, do I really need to reach for this, or is there a better choice? The other thing that is helpful, take a piece of paper and write stop on it. You can make a little stop sign, put it on your refrigerator, And before you get to the refrigerator and open it, it's going to cause you to pause. So that's been a really helpful thing to do as well.
Any other last minute questions before we log off tonight? That was great. I think you answered everybody's questions really well. And it's really informative, especially during all these. It's a very stressful time. It's been a stressful time for a while. So sometimes it gets, you need a few reminders to stay mindful. So really helpful.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, I think we'll head off for the night. Thank you again, Sally. Thank you
You're
everyone for
welcome.
coming. I appreciate it. I'm going to send a follow-up email to everybody with a short evaluation, as well as the food diary that Sally showed, so you all can utilize that as well. But yeah, that's it. Thank you again for coming. Have a
Okay.
good night, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night.